Good afternoon, everybody. Um, Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Christiana Davidson. You're very welcome here on my channel. Please like, share and subscribe this video if you think it would help anybody. If you do share it or you like it, it does help me increase my viewership. And I'm trying to reach out to people who have had a narcissistic parent. Because, do you know, the impact of this, as I work with more and more clients around the world, you know, it's unbelievable to me how many people have been suffering as a result of narcissistic parenting, either mother or father, in their adult life. And our responsibility, I believe, as adults is to put in place for ourselves a plan of healing our childhood wounds. I think that's the number one priority each of us has, whether we, you know, whatever our backgrounds. So that's what I offer to clients when they work with me, is an amazing plan of really taking charge of your life. Now today we're going to look at this a topic I haven't heard spoken much about in terms of narcissism in the family unit. And the title is Having a Narcissistic Parent Sets You Up to Have Both an Idealized Self and a Devalued or Discarded Self. So let me explain this further. A narcissistic parent will praise you for certain aspects of yourself, but then they will shame you for other aspects of yourself. So in a nutshell, we take on as children that we have parts of us that make us lovable and parts of us that make us unlovable. The parts that make us lovable are the parts that the narcissistic parent likes and nurtures within the child. The parts that the parent doesn't like are the shameable parts. Now, it's very confusing this because it's not so cut and dry like that. The narcissistic parent will be projecting discardable parts onto the child. So they're often not, you know, that devalued self is not actually you. But anyway, before it gets too complicated, let's keep it simple for this video today. So, the idealized you is you seen through the desires, the image of you that reflects well on the narcissistic parent's false self. So from the moment you're born to a narcissistic parent, they don't see you. They can only see an image of you that they have created in their minds before you've been born, I suggest, that is going to reflect well on them, on their idealized self, their false self, in other words. And your job as their child is to become that ideal image that they have of you. And when you do that at certain points, you know, you might, little things you've done or little achievements, or, you know, I don't know, your father loves football, and you go on to take on football, and you work really hard, and he loves it and goes to all your matches, and you get the player of the year, and, you know, here you are really living up to his idealized version of you. Or it could be academics, it could be a girl in terms of her looks, you know, whatever. There are endless versions of this. So you learn as a young child that version of you, that ideal version of you, is what makes you lovable. And if you're not that ideal version, you're somehow shameful, you're somehow unlovable, rejectable. So what starts to happen is the child then focuses on this ideal self and will do anything to maintain the idealized version of them. And that will, of course, then affect later relationships. This idealized you is often the you that's meant to be confident. In public, you've got to be popular, you've got to have lots of friends, you've got to be going to all the latest things, you've got to be really good looking, you've got to think the same way as the narcissistic parent, you've got to be successful, financially, amazing, just living a movie star life, because it's, what society wants to see, and that really reflects well on the false self of the narcissist. It gives them the boost that they're wanting from you. Now let's look at the other side of the picture, your discarded self, your less than valuable self. So this self is you seen through the projections of the narcissistic parent. It's their rejected self, and it's the opposite of the ideal self. So there's a bit of a sort of a swing that's set up here. One moment you're the idealized self, and then you're not. You're this discarded, devalued self who's not confident, maybe doesn't have a lot of friends, is trying to play football but doesn't really like it, and actually decides to, do dance classes instead. This is the disappointment self. The self that disappoints the narcissistic parent is what the child will take on as what makes them unlovable and needs to be stamped out. It makes them shameful. It makes them rejectable. And this rejected self is often seen as you in your uniqueness. Maybe you are more of a creative soul than rough and ready on the football pitch. Maybe you're not sort of a grandiose, confident, life and soul of the party type. Maybe you have different opinions to your narcissistic parent. Anything that makes you separate or different from their idealized version of you is what they're going to shame in you. Hope this is making sense. So in adulthood, you may find yourself still striving to reach this ideal version of you that's going to make you lovable. When I'm that confident, businesswoman that, is running, 6 companies, has lost, 10 kilograms of weight, is wearing all the latest trends, looking fantastic, perfect partner, perfect location, this can be, how many traumatized children end up in adulthood. They find themselves sort of desperately trying to make themselves lovable, trying to put on this confident, successful self in order that their vulnerable or discarded self is kept hidden, that others can't see it. And they find themselves swinging then between believing on one hand they are really confident, sometimes they are, and then they swing the opposite way towards the discarded self, the unconfident. And it's not easy, this, it can be really exhausting, and it's one of the effects of CPTSD, I think, too. So what can we do about this? Well, we've got to realise that yes, as much as we all want to, work on ourselves and make ourselves the best of ourselves that we can, being a whole human being is actually about embracing all aspects of ourselves. That's what love is. Being loved is not about perfection. Loving yourself is not about loving only the perfect parts of you. Real unconditional love that we're all looking for is about loving yourself unconditionally. You know, being aware of your strengths and your talents and, you know, all the rest of it, and your gifts, and honouring those, and, you know, using them for the good of the world and for your own benefit, but then also being aware of the weaker parts, the more vulnerable parts, the more shameful parts, and not, you know, not feeling like you need to hide those from everybody, that somehow in your core you're bad because of them. No, we are all both strength and weakness, and actually it's those weak, vulnerable parts of the person that are the ways to intimacy, real intimacy with another person. When you're able to open up and share of yourself in in all of your you know, in every way, that is what creates a real bond between people. Actually, it's not just presenting yourself as perfect the whole time. That can be very disconnecting. So it's time to stop devaluing parts of yourself and seeing those actually as really valuable. They are what make you unique. They are what sort of give you soul. You're not just a doll. No, you're not just a Barbie. No, you're a person with soul. And it's almost like we need to bring that idealized version of you and the discarded, and just bring them to level ground in the middle. And yes, of course, you know, keep working on yourself, keep you know, doing whatever helps you to feel that you're growing and flourishing, but let go of the drive to perfection. It's not the way. In fact, it's the way to the opposite of what it suggests. It doesn't lead to love, it leads to loneliness and a sense of unlovability. Yeah, and time to sort of accept you as perfectly imperfect, as I'm sure you've heard before, where you can be truly loved for who you are, not for what you bring or what you do. So if this has been helpful for you, or you relate to any of it, please do, and you'd like to work on it with me, to free yourself from this endless swinging between 1 minute believing, yes I can, and the next minute believing, oh God, I'm not good enough. You know, please book in. I have an amazing program, like I said, and you will tangibly feel the changes happening, because we go right to the core, right to the heart of this. Yeah, no messing around. Let's get working on it. Okay, everybody, have a lovely day, and I shall see you very soon.